The world is full of so many great men and women who have triumphed in so many fields and aspects of life, some even going beyond human comprehension in their works, deeds and way of life, thereby leaving their footprints in the sands of time, that if asked to mention all of them then we would run out of space, but permit us to mention some of the greatest of the bunch, specifically, the top 25 most influential, and in no particular order of ranking. We know that some of us might quite disagree with one or two names that would be mentioned here, but hey, it's a free world and we are all entitled to our own opinion. But in all sincerity of purpose, if we critically take a good look at the list of these great men and women listed below, considering their works and influence on humanity, you would quite agree that indeed they are the most influential the world has ever produced. So sit back, relax and enjoy the list as we begin. 1. Jesus of Nazareth, 5 BC to 30 AD, spiritual teacher and central figure of Christianity, the world's largest religion. 2. Muhammad, 570 to 632 AD, prophet of Islam. Muhammad is traditionally said to have been born in 570 AD in Mecca and to have died in 632 AD in Medina. He is the founder of the world religion of Islam. 3. Isaac Newton, 1642 to 1727. He was an English mathematician, physicist, astronomer, alchemist, theologian, and author. Widely recognized as one of the greatest mathematicians and physicists of all time. 4. Buddha, 563 to 483 BC, spiritual teacher and founder of Buddhism. Highly revered by Buddhists as an enlightened being who taught a path to freedom from ignorance, craving, rebirth and suffering. 5. Saint Paul the Apostle, a Christian missionary and one of the main writers of the New Testament. Commonly known as Paul the Apostle. Saint Paul was responsible for spreading the teachings of Jesus in the first century, and generally regarded as one of the most important figures of the apostolic age. 6. Albert Einstein, 1879 to 1955, a German/US scientist who discovered theory of relativity. His theories of relativity were a very significant scientific breakthrough. As well as being a genius scientist, he was also a champion of human rights and campaigned for a more peaceful world. 7. Aristotle, 384 BC to 322 BC, a Greek philosopher and polymath, taught by Plato. His writings cover many subjects which includes physics, biology, zoology, metaphysics, logic, ethics, aesthetics, poetry, theater, music, rhetoric, psychology, linguistics, economics, politics, meteorology, geology, and government. He was a unique being and one of a kind. 8. Moses, 1391 to 1271 BC, a key figure of Jewish/Christian history, gave 10 commandments of Old Testament. Is considered the most important prophet in Judaism and one of the most important prophets in Christianity, Islam, and other Abrahamic religions. 9. Charles Darwin, 1809 to 1882, was an English naturalist, geologist and biologist who proposed and popularized theory of evolution. Best known for his contributions to evolutionary biology. His proposition that all species of life have descended from a common ancestor is now widely accepted and considered a fundamental concept in science. 10. George Washington, 1732 to 1799, was an American military officer, statesman, and founding father who served as the first president of the United States from 1789 to 1797, and has been called the Father of the Nation for his manifold leadership in the formative days of the country. 11. William Shakespeare, 1564 to 1616. He was an English playwright, poet, and actor. He is widely regarded as the greatest writer in English language and the world's greatest dramatist. He is often called England's national poet. 12. Alexander the Great, 356 to 323 BC, was a king of the ancient Greek kingdom of Macedonia. At the age of 20, he succeeded his father, Philip II, to the throne upon the latter's assassination at the wedding of Cleopatra of Macedon. Beginning shortly after his father's death, he spent most of his ruling years conducting a lengthy military campaign throughout Asia and Egypt. By the age of 30, he had created one of the largest empires in history, stretching from the Balkans in the west to India in the east. He was undefeated in battle and is widely considered to be one of the greatest and most successful military commanders in history. 13. Thomas Edison, 1847–1931 was an American inventor and businessman. He developed many devices in fields such as electric power generation, mass communication, sound recording, and motion pictures. These inventions, which include the motion picture camera, and early versions of the electric light bulb, have had a widespread impact on the modern industrialized world. 14. Julius Caesar, 100 BC to 44 BC Roman ruler who oversaw the demise of the Roman Republic to be replaced with a Roman emperor. He militarily strengthened the power of Rome, and subsequently became dictator of Rome from 49 BC until his assassination in 44 BC. 15. John F. Kennedy, 1917–1963 often referred to by his initials as JFK, he was an American politician who served as the 35th President of the United States from 1961 until his assassination near the end of his third year in office. Serving at the height of the Cold War, and helped in defusing Cuban Missile Crisis. Kennedy was one of the youngest person to assume the presidency by election, and his lifespan was the shortest of any American president. 16. Bill Gates, 1955, founder of Microsoft. Is an American business magnate, software developer, investor, author, and philanthropist. He is a co-founder of Microsoft, along with his late childhood friend Paul Allen. During his career at Microsoft, he was a major entrepreneur of the microcomputer revolution of the 1970s and 1980s. 17. Queen Elizabeth II, 1926–2022 She is Queen of the United Kingdom and 14 other Commonwealth realms. Born in Mayfair, London, Elizabeth has reigned as a constitutional monarch through major political changes. She was the longest-lived and longest-reigning British monarch, the oldest and longest-serving head of state, and the second longest-reigning sovereign monarch in world history. 18. Nelson Mandela, 1918–2013. He was a South African anti-apartheid revolutionary and political leader, who served as the first president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. He was the country's first black head of state and the first elected in a fully representative democratic election. His government focused on dismantling the legacy of apartheid by tackling institutionalized racism and fostering racial reconciliation. 19. Henry Ford, 1863–1947 was an American industrialist, business magnate, founder of the Ford Motor Company, and chief developer of the assembly line technique of mass production. By creating the first automobile that middle-class Americans could afford, he converted the automobile from an expensive luxury into an accessible conveyance that profoundly impacted the landscape of the 20th century. 20. Martin Luther King Jr., 1929–1968, was an American Baptist minister and activist, a nonviolent civil rights leader who inspired the American civil rights movement to achieve greater equality, and who became the most visible spokesman and leader in the civil rights movement from 1955 until his assassination in 1968. He helped to organize the 1963 March on Washington, where he gave the famous, "I Have a Dream" speech. 21. Mahatma Gandhi, 1869–1948 was an Indian lawyer, anti-colonial nationalist, who employed non-violent resistance to lead the successful campaign for India's independence from British rule, and to later inspire movements for civil rights and freedom across the world. 22. Mother Teresa, 1910–1997 a modern-day saint who sought to identify with and offer compassion to the unloved and destitute. She lived a life of voluntary poverty and service to the poor. She became a global icon for selfless service to others. Through her missionary of charity organizations, she personally cared for thousands of sick and dying people in Calcutta. She was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979. 23. Leonardo da Vinci, 1452–1519 one of the greatest minds in human history. In many areas, he was a couple of centuries ahead of scientific discovery. He helped make great advances in anatomy, astronomy, physics, science, and in other fields as well. Amidst all this, he found time to paint the most iconic picture in history, the Mona Lisa. 24. Pope John Paul II, 1920 to 2005. He was the head of the Catholic Church and sovereign of the Vatican City State from 1978 until his death in 2005. He was elected Pope by the Second Papal Conclave of 1978. He was elected on the third day of the conclave and adopted the name of his predecessor in tribute to him. He was the first non-Italian pope since Adrian VI in the 16th century and the second longest-serving pope after Pius IX in modern history. 25. Oprah Winfrey, 1954, influential talk show host, producer, actress, author, philanthropist and businesswoman, best known for her talk show, The Oprah Winfrey Show. Oprah has become a role model for African American women. She was the first woman to own her own talk show. Her show and book club are very influential, focusing on issues facing American women. And with this we have come to the end of this interesting and educating list video. Please do give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and also don't forget to click on the subscribe and notification buttons to get notified of more interesting videos. Thank you.